identity, especially in high school when you're going through all those tough periods and stuff. It's not always easy to go through that because, as a cross country or track athlete, sometimes you can be overshadowed. Like, who do you think you are? You're not like X, Y, and Z because, there's always some high school star that you
Yeah.
may be in their shadow, and that can definitely mess with your self-worth, self-image. So the one thing I would like to also reiterate is just focus on yourself and your goals. It's like there is no telling what that person will do post high school, wherever they go in college. If they are that D1 star and you feel like you're kind of in their shadows, it's like they may not pan out. They may drop out of school. They may go back home. They may transfer out. Um,
Hey guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Unfortunately, for the first hour of this podcast, the video went corrupted, but the audio is just fine, so it's just going to be a black screen. This is a pretty lengthy one, but it's very content-packed and some really cool insight. Hope you guys enjoy it.
What's up, man?
what's up? How's it going?
It's going all right. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Can't complain.
You're surviving through the winter storms right now?
Yeah, somehow, some way. How about you?
Um, I mean, last week when everybody started complaining about it, I
Yeah.
was here in in Jacksonville and like it was still like 65, 70 degrees, so it didn't really affect me at all. But this week is a lot colder. Like today it was like in the 40s, which is not well, I mean, it gets in the 40s here sometimes, but it's not normal. So,
Yeah.
but so you're in Kentucky though, right? Right now?
Yep. Northern Kentucky. It's about 5 minutes from Cincinnati.
I got you. So like yeah, so you're probably
Yeah.
drenched in the bad weather.
Yeah. I believe we're at 7 inches right now of snow.
Dang.
Yeah. So yeah, my car is gonna be covered for like 2 months. It's terrible.
Oh, that's terrible. So like how's the training been then? How you been able to adapt to it?
So fortunately, I have a treadmill at my clubhouse at my apartment, but
Hmm.
there's just two treadmills, and a lot of my teammates have been having to ask me like, "Hey, can I use your treadmill?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah.
Because it kind of sucks because the rec at NKU is closed when there's no school, and we haven't had school the past 2 days, so the rec hasn't been open.
I got you. So, but most of your stuff has just been on treadmills. Like, have you even tried to run outside?
Oh no, no,
Okay.
no. Today I did a tempo on the treadmill, and yesterday I did 8 miles on the treadmill, and then tomorrow we're gonna we're gonna go to an indoor track, and I'm gonna do some strides there.
All right, I got you. That's what I was about to ask next. I was like, I didn't know what the nearest indoor track was to you guys.
It's Mount St. Joe, which is about 25 minutes away. It's a D3 school.
I got you.
Um, so the University of Cincinnati, of course, is like 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away.
Hmm.
And I believe they have an indoor facility, but of course they don't let us use it.
Yeah,
Xavier is also close. I don't think they have an indoor facility, but Mount St. Joe does. And yeah, fortunately they let us use it.
is it banked or is it flat?
It is flat. It's 200 flat.
I
So
got
my
you.
left ankle kind of feels it the next 2 days.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, at least it's an option, right? I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot worse positions you can be in. So,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and it's like, it's still January, so we still got at least 5 more months of training and racing to do. So,
Oh, yeah. Lots of time.
yeah. But all right, let's go ahead and get this thing started. If you want to introduce yourself, your name, your hometown, who you run for. This time I'm going to start with something different as well, and you're going to say at least one of your hobbies outside of running and obviously outside of school. So you go ahead and get started on that.
Okay. My name is Stetson Childress. I'm from Muhlenberg County, Kentucky, Graham, Kentucky, which is like a little speck. I run for Northern Kentucky University, which again is 5 minutes outside of Cincinnati. Excuse me. So again, it's like a little speck. And my hobby, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually play guitar, kind of badly, but it's a hobby that I do enjoy. Whenever I do get free time from Darkhorse or running, competing, working my part-time job, I like to write songs and stuff. So that's kind of like my little hobby that I do.
That's pretty cool. I mean, trust me, I get it. Like the free time that you do have is probably only a slim amount, compared to um the rest of the things you're doing. So just being able to keep up with it and just draws your mind and attention away from just a little distraction from everything that's going on. It's pretty cool. So would you would you say like I I don't know anything about what a good guitarist is, or like how you rate yourself or anything. That would you say you're pretty good though?
I would say from a technical standpoint, probably not as far as the actual guitar playing is, but I guess one of my hidden talents is I've always been really good at writing. So like going through middle school and high school, I would like write poems for Beta Club and stuff. And I don't even know what book I'm in, but I got published in some book for one of my poems. So from the writing standpoint, I would say I'm like proficient in that. But from the guitar standpoint, I would say I'm like mediocre.
I mean, that's still pretty cool. I mean, get your name, published and stuff like that. So are you, uh, is your major aligned with anything like that?
No, so I actually got my bachelor's degree from Bethel University in Tennessee, also in a small town, and I got in business administration, and I graduated early, and now I'm getting my master's also in business administration.
Wow.
So maybe like from like a marketing standpoint, if I ever like uploaded videos or something like that. But no like music degree or anything like that.
I mean, that's still pretty cool. But like, um, so, interesting. So you're very like, what's the word? That diverse person. Like, you have a lot of different talents. So, which is, when you get to like kind of the top end of one talent, it's really hard to like be able to balance everything and keep up with everything. So, but it sounds like you've been able to, somewhat do that. So, but okay. So now that we got it out of the way, we're gonna really deep dive into your story,
Okay.
because what I've seen and what I know could be different than what you know, and you personally have been through, obviously, and what you put out there on social media and stuff like that. But I like what I've seen so far is it's very captivating, it's very motivational, and I just like I gotta know, from I don't know if we can say day one in high school or something like that, but maybe let's go. Let's start maybe from high school, when your aspirations, you started to want to run in college, and like maybe your the beginning of your recruiting process, if you even had a recruiting process, towards how you ended up on a D1 team. And if I think it's going to be this way, it's going to be pretty mind blowing of how you're going to say it. So it's going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm clearing my throat so much, but maybe it's the weather. But anyways, in high school, I was not a standout athlete. In fact, I was a pretty mediocre talent, if I had to say so myself. And I really had no business being on a college team at all. Of course, I had young ambitions to be on a college team. My brother was a way better athlete than I ever dreamed of being. And he ran for Bethel University, which is where I later attended out of high school. And truth be told, I kind of just rode his coattails, and that's how I got my scholarship to Bethel. But I wasn't a state champion. I never qualified for state in track. I was like the third or sometimes fourth guy on my high school team, so didn't really make a immediate impact in high school. Wasn't a crazy standout. My teammates were standouts. So I was always kind of in their shadows. Our number one runner, Jonah Mitchell, he was a state champion in the 3200. The second man on our team, Stephen Newman, he got fourth, I think, at the state meet in the mile. So I was just kind of like in everybody's shadow, it felt at the time. And of course, like they were good and they had like all these collegiate offers. And I wanted to follow in their footsteps and my brothers, but I just didn't really click for me in high school. And like I said, I just fortunately enough, my brother's Coach Brandon Kilmer, he kind of believed in me, and I kind of, like I said, rode his coattails and went on to Bethel University.
So, so do you think it was like more of your brother kind of talking to the coach and saying,
Yeah,
"Hey, you know, let's not say, genetics is 100%, but hey, he's my younger brother, so I have a feeling, he could have the same, let's just say at least potential to be as talented." Or would you say it's more of, um, you know, your brother kind of put your name out there, and then it was the coach alone that like was, let's take a chance on you. Which one do you think it was more
well,
fine with?
funny enough, my brother is a little bit older than me, so he's 31. So there's about a 7.5 year age gap. So my his coach, Brandon Kilmer, actually knew me when I was growing up, like middle school, high school, and I would say it was a mix of maybe he saw some potential, but he was also extremely close with my brother. Like they still call each other like twice a week and talk. So I think it was a mix. I definitely think like he was familiar with me. He knew what he was getting. He knew not only my potential, but the character traits of which, I possessed. And also as a slight favor to my brother as well, because they were so close. Um, but I would say I definitely, as egotistical as I want to be and say, I got out of, the trenches and myself or whatever the expression may be. I'm a true believer in everybody somewhere helped you. So it doesn't matter if you're like a billionaire, a millionaire, somebody helped you along the way. And ego aside, I can be vulnerable enough and say it was definitely my brother that helped me as far as collegiate running goes.
I got you. And it's like what's the best way of describing this? It's when I talk to a lot of high school kids that come into my DMs, or they'll personally reach out to me and they'll ask me a bunch of questions about the recruiting process and stuff like that. And a lot of times the message I want to give them, that's hard for them to when you're young and you see all the like the shiny things that you won, and you're like, oh, I want to go D1. It seems so cool. Like, all this gear and, NIL money nowadays, and, scholarship stuff and branding and everything like that. And I tell them a lot of the times it's not about, it's not necessarily about the stats that you can put on high school, but it's about getting yourself through the front door. Like you gotta pinpoint something about you that nobody else has, and then that'll intrigue the coach's interest on what you're gonna do. And it sounds like that's kind of the same. I guess it's similar to how you were like in the recruiting process. It's your brother knew the coach and had a good relationship, and that's what got you through the door. And it's not to say that the athletes of the kids that weren't, national contenders, or they weren't state champions. Not to say that they are bad athletes and they need something to get the door. It's just that you have like, I think there's like 100,000, maybe 200,000 high school track, athletes. And I bet I don't know the exact, percentages, but a lot of them are emailing coaches every single day. Like any coach from, D1 all the way to JUCO is probably getting like 300 emails a day. And it's like, you got to define yourself with a specific, like point about like, oh, how are you going to add something to this program that nobody else can add to the program. So, and that doesn't always have to be time.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a decent athlete, but you have like a 4.4 GPA, and that coach knows that no matter what, you're going to be, all academic team every single semester, and that'll help out the school. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, absolutely. So when I serve at Cracker Barrel, that's my part-time job. And there was something I'll never forget. There was this guy that would come in. He was an older gentleman. His name was Bob. And the one thing that he taught me was he attended Murray State. I was a senior in high school. I was like worried, like, where am I going to go? And he said, whatever institution, university you go to, it's a personality. And at the time, I was like, that doesn't make sense. It's a brick building. How's it gonna is it gonna
yeah.
talk? Is it gonna talk to me? Like what's going on here? And the more older as I get, the more I realize he was right. So when I attended Bethel, UT Martin was 30 minutes away. UT Martin being a D1 institution, Bethel being NAIA. I could tell a major difference in the personalities and the cultures there. I
Yeah.
mean, you can see it at University of Alabama compared to you could compare it to Liberty University.
Mm-hmm.
Just completely different stem of personalities. You could take the same with University of Oregon, with UCLA. It's just a culture and personality difference. But the one thing that I tell all the athletes that I do coach is Bethel is NAIA, Northern Kentucky's Division I. So I'm one of the few people that can say they, on the outside looking in, started here, ended here, which I don't see it like that. But I had a blast at Bethel. Like some of the best memories of my whole entire life was at Bethel University, and I'm tremendously grateful for those experiences. And I still have great experiences at Northern Kentucky as well. Because I feel as though like people look at NAI institutions, JUCO institutions, and they kind of think it's like the trenches of collegiate running, and that's not necessarily the case at all. Because there's fast people everywhere. My teammate at Bethel was a sub 14-minute 5K, and it's like what? And so people just don't realize that. So the number one advice I tell people is if you're looking to go somewhere based off running, it doesn't matter because a good coach will get you those times. Go somewhere that you're comfortable and you can see yourself in 3, 4 years, however long it takes to get your degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then nobody likes to hear this, but if it doesn't go well, it doesn't mean you got to stay there forever. Like,
Yeah.
you can always transfer it and I think a lot of people need to hear that and everybody's scared to admit that. But in my opinion, it gets rid of like all the anxiety and the pressure.
Yeah. No, those are some really great points. It's a lot of those things I like to, I like to say as well about the recruiting process, and just try to just like it's sometimes it's hard to, I guess, not influence, that's not the right word, advise certain people when all they want is this one thing, and it's like they're not really seeing, all the like the stuff in the background that's not as good, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
when you're young and you're like, 15, 16, 17 years old, and you're just getting into, where am I going to see myself in 4 or 5 years from now? Usually you think about everything that could go right, the maximum possibility of like, I'm going to go to it, I'm going to run these times in high school, I'm going to go to a D1 school, I'm going to, run times that'll get me to All-American, I'm going to win an NCAA title, and then I'm going to go sign a pro contract and like all this stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like that's only the 0.0001% of people that even get recruited to run in college. And not to say that you can't be that person, not to say it's
Yeah.
not possible, not to say don't shoot for your dreams, don't shoot for your goals, but you have to have a backup plan. You have
Yeah.
to have something
Absolutely.
where you're not just betting all your eggs in one basket about, where you're going to go, because like if you do that, then you could see yourself ending up in a position where you're not happy at all. You're stuck at the school because you've already put money into the school, and you can't, like, there's transfer possibilities and stuff like you talked about. There's if you really wanted to make it happen, you could go to one school and be like, hey, I don't like it, I'm gonna transfer out. But sometimes, you go to uh, like Duke, okay, and you pay for like $60,000 for a semester there, and then that 60 grand is gone forever. Like you can't get that back. So
Yeah.
it's like you got to if you go to a school you're going to go run at, okay, and I'm not talking about the Quincy Wilsons, the Tate Taylors, um the Marco Langdons. I'm not talking about those people, because we already know they're getting pro contracts. If they want a pro contract, they can sign it right now.
Yeah.
But if you're not a national contender, you got to pick a school that you're going to go to, and if running doesn't work out, you're going to feel like, oh, I can stay at this school and be happy, and maybe join the club team, or just focus on school or something like that. At least that's my perspective on it.
In my opinion, using my business knowledge, I kind of look at it as it's just marketing. So at the end of the day, it's like if you ask any high schooler in America, 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, where do you want to run? They'll say like Oregon because
Mm-hmm.
of Steve Prefontaine. Or, oh, I want to run track for Kentucky. I want to be Alabama, Texas, all these Power Four schools. And then if you get down to the root of it, it's like, well, why do you want to go there? And it's that marketing. Like everybody wants to be like the stud, and everybody wants to be like the hero of their own story, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're marketed to believe in this best case scenario. Like you go there, you get all this gear, you get all the best facilities, people love you. But the flip side of that is they don't market, the classrooms where it's like a 50-to-1 student to teacher ratio. They don't market where it's like a 2-mile walk to get to your class, or when it's like a 20-minute commute. So from business perspective, it's like you're seeing all the good things.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's an issue with like recruiting. And of course, like some people will go in the best case scenario, but these people that have choices, there's always that saying like dreams turn into nightmares. It's like everybody has this dream, they get there, and it's a nightmare. And then you got to ask those like personal questions like, did I really want this, or did I just want
Yeah.
what the culture around me wanted? Like being from attending Bethel University, everybody was a Tennessee Vols fan. So of
Mm.
course everybody wanted to run for Tennessee, but they're all from like, a small town. And then I've had a few people that attended that institution, and they'll get there and it's like, I'm just overwhelmed. And then it's like you got to ask those tough questions. Did you really want to go there? Or did you want to go there because your family wanted you to go there? Or everybody else in that culture is their dream? Are you living somebody else's dream, or is that your dream? And I
Yeah.
think you can apply a lot of that to choosing schools with running, or any school in general.
And it's so hard, because these life-changing decisions have to be made before you even turn 8. Like most of the time, before you turn
Yeah.
18 years old. It's like
Yeah.
society expects you to like know what you're gonna do for the rest of your life before you're 18 years old, and I mean, heck, I'm 20 years old, and I don't. I mean, I have like goals, and I have dreams and visions of mine, but I don't know for certain what I'm gonna do the rest of my life. And your older brother, probably 31 years old, probably doesn't even know what he's gonna do
Oh,
the rest of his life.
man, he'll be 62 years old before he figures out what he wants for lunch.
So, and it's pretty crazy. And then you add on top of it, it's like with track it's a little bit less, but if you're if you're like a high school football player nowadays, oh my God, I can't even
Yeah.
imagine. Like you just, they they offer you millions of dollars to go play for the school, and you know you take the contract, you take the deal, and then it doesn't work out. After 4 years, and you don't go pro, you don't go to the NFL or whatever, but you've taken like basket weaving major your entire college career, and sure, you got paid the $1 million contract, but it's like that's what did that teach you for the rest of your life? What did that, really, are you really setting yourself up for success? And that's a
Yeah.
big question nowadays.
I
Um,
think the money buys you time as far as like you have a little bit of like change in your pocket to figure out what you do enjoy. But at the end of the day, it's like, you can't replace time. So it's like even people are like, oh, they got $1 million, which is great. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. $1 million is a lot of money, and that's absolutely incredible. But
yeah,
if they do decide to get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, it's like, yeah, they can pay it off. They won't have any student debt, but that's 4 to 6 years of their time that they just can't get back. So then it's like, what are you going to do in the meantime? Just sit there and be miserable? I mean, you got to reflect and find your own passions within the meantime as well.
yeah, no, 100%. It's like it's it's there's just like a few words that come to my mind. Is it fulfilling? Is it meaningful? Are you passionate about it? Um, and are you like, I don't know. Sometimes it sounds a little cringe to like, say these things out loud, but at the end of the day, we're gonna get to the point where we're old enough where we're gonna be like, I don't care what other people think, like what we say, like, if it's true, it's true. Like, I don't care if I'm not cool by, you know, because the thing is that I know this isn't about me, but I'm gonna go into a little story about myself for a second that'll apply a
Yeah,
lot more
absolutely.
to this situation. Um, I got an offer to run D1 right out of high school, um, and I went to VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, and I ran there for a year, and I did pretty well, but to say the least, you know, I don't like throwing around, hating things, but I did did not like it at all. Like
Yeah.
100% disliked it. And mainly it came down to the environment that I was put under. The you know the team the team by itself was fine. The school by itself was fine, but you know living you know living on my own in the city where you got crazy people and you go walk across campus and you got to go to engineering class and then you got to go back and walk all the way back across campus to then go to practice and then run 15 miles, and then it was just like the environment personally was not set up for me to be successful. I had everything that I ever wanted, and it felt like just, I don't know how to explain it. It was like, dude, why is this not making you happy? Like, you're a D1 athlete, you're going to school for something you're passionate about. And at the end of the day, I had to ask myself, and I was like, this is just it's not right for me. It's not right for me. So I leave ECU and I transfer to UNF, and there were some things going behind the scenes of things, talking to coaches, recruiting, stuff like that. And some things I'm not allowed to talk about, some things I am allowed to talk about. But essentially, I tried walking onto the team. Okay, initially the odds of me walking onto the team are very good, and then roster limits hit.
Hmm.
Roster limits hit, and they say, "Hey, we don't got a spot for you." So now I was left here, and um, and then I basically had to make a decision, and I got more offers to transfer to other schools again, and like some pretty good schools with some pretty good programs, and a lot of coaches saw that I still had talent left. But again, I was hit with the question of what is truly going to set me up for success. Is transferring again and going to another school where I can run and live out this dream of mine, as a D1 athlete, something that's worth being over, finally making like a stable place to live where I can go to school and, I can compete by myself, compete unattached, compete on my own. And I finally had to make the decision to say, hey, even though this isn't exactly what I planned out for myself a few years ago, some circumstances that you get put under, you just gotta, you gotta make the best decisions with, the cards that you're given. And so I decided to stay here. And in the next year, basically all by myself, I ran the fastest I ever ran before. So, I mean, it ended up working out. But the point is about everything that I'm talking about, and if you're listening right now, everything that Stenson is talking about is that you have to do what's best for yourself. You can't put all these shiny, tangible things in your life that you think will fulfill you or think will make you happy. But at the end of the day, it's just either A, it's society pressuring you to want to get these things, or two, it's this, I forgot what the exact psychological term for it, but it's like once I hit this, I'm gonna be happy. And then you get there, and then once I hit this, I'm gonna be happy. And then it's just like if you run 420 a mile, oh, I'm gonna be finally happy when I run 420 the mile.
Yeah.
And you run 4:15, and now, oh, I'm gonna be finally happy when I run 4:10 the mile. Oh, I have to break 4. I'm gonna be finally, and it's like,
yeah,
no, that's not. So
I had the same exact discussion with one of my athletes. I'll plug him in. He'll probably be pumped about this, but it's Jackson Woodrow. So he wanted to break 5 in the mile, and he ran 5:07. He was like, I want to break 5, and it's like, man, you closed an awesome six. You had the second fastest 600-meter close. Like that's an A+ race, man. Like, forget the time. Like, that's an A+ race.
yeah.
And he was just hung up like, man, I just want to break 5. And then exactly what you were discussing, I was like, well, once you break 5, what's next? Oh, I want to break 450, 440, 430. And it's just never ending cycle. And eventually you'll get to this point where I won't say you'll plateau and you'll never PR again. But you have to come up with different metrics for success. Like, how good were my moves this race? Did I have a good kick? Did I go into this race mentally prepared? Was I excited for this race? And you got to take away the good and the bad and come up with your own conclusions. Like, okay, this was a C, B, or A+ race.
Yeah.
Because if you're just chasing time, you're just chasing in circles. Like, you're just not going anywhere.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's like, it's so hard as a track athlete too, because our entire, I don't know, like,
The identity's based on time.
Yeah.
Because it's an uncomfortable conversation when somebody comes up to you and they're like, what's your mile time? And it's like, ego aside, you want to say, oh, I'm a 3:59 guy. Oh, I'm a 4:03 guy. But then in reality, it's like, I should not care what this person thinks, because we could race in this parking lot and I don't even have to warm up. And I could beat you by 100 meters.
Exactly. And it's like, and then it challenges, your self-worth and stuff like that. And I feel like we're maybe deep diving into the psychology behind things a little more than maybe we should in this episode, but I think it's worth talking about this. Sometimes you have to talk about the hard things, and this is one of the hard things that's like, hey, like, it's okay to, I don't know how to really describe it. Like, it's okay to not be, I don't, it's what's the best way of putting this? It's okay to not be your 100% all the time. How about that? You don't have to, and like, the way that I can make a comparison in an analogy to this, specifically with with running, is that if you do a really hard workout the day before your race, don't expect to run a PR in that race. Don't expect to do well in that race, because that workout, one, challenged you physically to the point where you're going to be exhausted and you need to recover the next day. But two, it also, it's teaching your body, and it's also teaching your mind delayed gratification, meaning that what you're going to do today isn't setting yourself up for success in the present moment, but setting yourself up for success later down the road. And so it's like, don't expect yourself to be 100% all the time, every single day, because there's days where you're going to need to, be, 70% fit. There's days where you're going to need to be 50% fit. And those days are going to add up towards that race day where you hopefully are going to be, 100% fit. And even on race day, we both know that nobody's ever 100%. There's always something. Like, at the end of a race, even if you run a PR and you win the race, me and you, we both have had this experience before where we've, done some crazy things. And then after the race is like, maybe if I made that move a lap earlier, I could have ran 5 seconds faster. Or maybe if it's like you could have like had a gallon of chocolate milk before the race, and that would have made you like run worse or something like that. So does that make sense?
It's like a devil on your shoulder. It's like even when you PR, you're upset with the PR. It's like one of those types of races. You like PR, you should be happy, you should be just filled with joy. And it's like, man, I could have PR'd by 3 more seconds if I just would have, or man, if I didn't get clipped at the beginning, or if I just would have like just committed and just ran hard the last 200. But at the end, it's like you ran your fastest time that you have ever ran in your existence on this planet, and you're still upset.
Yeah.
And like we previously discussed, that's when you guys start asking yourself like questions like, okay, what's really motivating me? Like, why am I feeling like this? Because, it's perspective is always key in my opinion. It's like if you just ran your best performance ever and you're still not happy and you're upset, I think there's definitely some deeper lying issues beyond that. And maybe it's like you were saying, a sense of identity, self-worth. I'll never forget it. I was reading this book, The Norwegian Method. And in the book, there was, I can't remember her name, but the Norwegian marathoner, she was just crushing it. She was like beating everybody, but she always finished second. And she had to see a sports psychologist because she just couldn't beat this girl. And then finally she started running like a world record, blowing away the competition. News reporters came up to the coach, like, what is she doing differently? And he said, oh, she took up knitting.
Yeah.
And everybody was just blown away, like, what, knitting? And it's like we get so obsessed with all these different avenues in our lives we're experiencing that we don't allow ourselves to step back and truly grasp just exactly what we're doing, because that's why I'm always a true believer in passion's better than obsession, because when we're obsessed over something, we're not allowed to fail. Like there's no bad days. When we're passionate about something, we allow ourselves to fail, learn, and get a grasp on just exactly what's going on.
Yeah. I can completely relate to that. One thing I'll talk about is when I was at VCU, I was doing 60, 65, 70-mile weeks. And for me at the time, that was something like so out of my comfort zone that I wasn't used to. Like in high school, for reference, I think the most mileage I ever did in 1 week was 47 miles. And the rest of my average weeks were like 35 to 40 miles. And I go to VCU and my coach has me on 65 to 70-mile weeks on average or whatever. And it felt as though it was like, this is what I have to do every single day to get where I want to go. There's no other way to accomplish where I want to go. And it was like all of a sudden, it wasn't just of what I wanted. It was, what the team wanted for me. It was what my coach wanted for me. It was, how am I going to make money for the school? How am I, and I'm technically, I wasn't, it's not a direct correlation or like, my results are going to equivalent towards making more money for the school. But like, the goal is one day I'm going to score a conference, and you score a conference, then, then the school gets more money, and the coaches then get paid. And it's like there was so much external pressure on my shoulders. And I learned that like it wasn't no longer what I wanted. It was accumulation of what everybody wanted, wanted for me. And I kind of like stored that as like some kind of like David Goggins discipline or motivation to like,
Yeah.
and it's like, it was like hard every day. You go out and do a 15-mile tempo long run in 15 degrees. And it's like, it's like, dude, you got to really think of like, I really am I having fun doing this, or is it because
Yeah.
and and then I transfer to UNF, and then I start doing things on my own, and I get actually I reached back out to my high school coach, and I said, hey, can you train me? And he said, sure, like I'll help you out with with workouts and coaching and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, I drop back down to 40 to 50 miles per week, and I start to kind of fall in love with the sport again. And then it was kind of more about like it was more about what I wanted to accomplish out of the sport, and said, hey, I say I'm not done. I want to keep going, but if I'm going to keep going, I need to do this my way. And I completely get rid of that I have to do it mentality, and go towards this mentality where it's I get to do this. I want to do this.
Yeah.
I am passionate about this. And then all of a sudden in less than a year, I run, fastest I ever run before, and I have one of the best races ever. I didn't even win the race, okay? I came eighth in this race, but I ran the fastest I ever ran before. I raced against guys from UF and FSU, and there was other schools like some other Power 4 schools that I'm forgetting right now, but I compete well. I take the lead on the second lap, and I'm pushing the pace, and we come through on the second lap in it was either like 59 or 60 flat. But the reason why we ran so fast is because I was the one that pushed it. And
Yeah.
I fade out at the end in the fourth lap, and I come in eighth, but I still ran the best race of my entire life. And surely it wasn't this like insane euphoric moment where I was on a Division I team, I win the race, and I just stuff like that, and people start posting about me on social media. But it was like, this is like, dude, this is actually what you dreamed about. What you dreamed about was feeling like you were finally at that spot where you were love what you were doing, and you were getting better at what you were doing. Those are the two things that you should probably hold. If you're not holding those two things the most in your life, in any aspect, you're probably not doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's a wild thing to say, but I mean, you can say if I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
No, I completely agree. So one of the races I'm most proud of, your story reminded me of this, is I actually ran a race last year, 5K at Grand Valley, and I had the flu. And some of the people I was coaching, they were like, okay, we're going to live stream your race. We're going to watch it. And it's like, oh, man, I got some pressure now. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going to be a world beater, but I just want to push my body to the limit. Like that was literally the mindset going in. It's like, you know, because the fittest person doesn't always win the race. It's just who always has the best day. And it's like, I'm not the fittest, and I'm not going to have the best day, but I can get a little tougher. And I think I ran like 16:10 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never been so proud of myself after a race ever. Just
Yeah.
because it was like, okay, for once in your life, you were actually a man. That's like mentally like what I told myself. Like I weren't
Yeah.
like I wasn't a baby. Like that was like the coolest moment ever to me. Like for once in my life, I can say that I actually pushed myself and that I didn't give in and I actually committed. Because after that first lap, I started questioning my existence. It was brutal.
Yeah. There's definitely some moments like that, and it really teaches you what it's all about. And it's like, it's like, again, I'm going to go back to this, 99.9% of people that, I'm going to even say 99.9% of people that even go D1 in sports are probably not going pro. I guess you can kind of make a case for what is considered pro. That's for me. It's like, if you play football,
Yeah.
going to the NFL. If you play baseball, it's going for the MLB. If for it's track, you sign a deal with Nike or Adidas or these major brand names or anything like that. But 99.9% of athletes are probably, the best way of describing it is, are probably not going to have a full sustained career just focusing on that for the rest of their life to be able to set themselves up, for retirement or whatever like that. That's the best way of describing it.
Yeah, that's something I've always wondered about as well, because the outside looking in, you look at these pro distance athletes, and it looks glamorous. It's like, oh, like who's I guess Air Colt's a good example because he's relevant in the running world now. He
Mm-hmm.
just signed with Puma and now he's out. But when he was with Puma, outside looking in, it's like, oh, this guy's steady. He has a pro contract. He's making money, and it lasted like a year.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, this guy's gonna get every ounce of talent out of his body and try to run these times perform, but there's no financial stability. And it's like me and you previously discussed, it's like he's going to live his life with no 401k or anything like that. He's going to be 40 before he has to like actually get serious and get a career, and then he has to like make up for lost time.
Yeah.
And so you really have to decide, like, is this something I really want, and am I prepared to suffer the consequences? Not saying that I shouldn't suffer with something I'm passionate about, but am I prepared to have this short-term benefit that I love for potential long-term suffering? Because let's say you do your 20s, your 30s, you're running, you have these pro contracts, then you're in your 40s. It's like, oh, well, now I actually have to get a job and a career
Yeah.
because Nike's not going to pay me to sit on the couch and eat potato chips.
Yeah.
But like, that's my that's how I've kind of looked at things. Now, of course, I could be completely wrong, and I do believe some people can make a sustainable living out of it, like Cole Hawker, Grant Fisher, Josh Kerr, for example. Um, like Cole Hawker, of course, he's a world champion, Olympic gold. Josh Kerr, of course, he's a world record holder. Grant Fisher, too. So, like they're obviously getting paid or compensated fairly well for all of their
Yeah.
accolades.
Yeah. No, 100%. And then there's some athletes that, aren't the top of the top. They aren't like, I guess, making world teams or making Olympic teams or something like that, but they're competing at the national level. But they're also, they're making content, or they're doing something on top of it. They're not
Yeah.
not just stepping on the track, running their race, and then that's their entire income is based upon they're making a YouTube video. Look, I just spent the last 6 weeks training at altitude, and I'm going to try and qualify to the Olympic team. And they don't qualify the Olympic team, but they made money off of the YouTube video. And it's like, you know, you can go. There's different routes that you can go down,
Yeah.
and you just have to be prepared to adapt to the situation and shift your
Yeah.
focus. Like, it's not, it's hard because there's just a human instinct to. Okay, so it's really funny. I got my in high school. I got my associate's degree in social sciences. So like
Okay.
I learned a lot about psychology and how people form in like social settings and stuff like that, and so socioeconomic stuff like that. And so a lot of the times I see there's kind of these these two distinct factors of people, and they can deviate themselves dramatically, like on the opposite end of the spectrum. And I'm going to explain it in a second. And it's either there's some people out there that no matter what you tell them, will refuse to give up no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
they just will. You could tell them that, hey, you know, like, how do I say this without, you know, not being grim or something like that? Like, hey, you know, you have this special condition where if you run for more than 5 miles, you're gonna pass out on the side of the street. And they will still run for more than 5 miles and make their maximum, you know, effort in that 5 mile workout, and then pass out on the side of the street and keep on going day in and day out every single day. And then you have the other side of the spectrum, where if you give them, like, you know, a workout or an assignment to do, and you say, hey, in this workout, you can either do 15 by 400 or you can do 8 by 400. And they'll always choose the 8 by 400 because they want to stay in a comfort zone. They don't want to have to push themselves past any other, you know, if they can do the minimum effort, they're going to do the minimum effort. And the same thing with like an essay. You can write the essay between 500 and 1,000 words. And those people will write the essay on the dot 500 words every single time.
Yeah.
And it's really funny to see, because it's you can apply those lessons a lot in life, because you have to kind of be able to put yourself in the middle and balance yourself. Because if you're on the far left end of the spectrum, okay, you're probably never going to hit your potential ever in life. And for me, at least, I don't want to be average. I don't like being average. I don't like the feeling of, you know, the typical work a 9 to 5 your whole life, you know, retire when you're 60 years old, you know, like the typical average person. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to be average. But on the other
What's
side,
what's expected, I guess.
exactly. What is expected? So, and then, but you take the other side of the spectrum, okay, and if you live your life on the edge every single day, there's it's an exponential risk for you to, you know, like, I'm not, you know, not to be, not to, you know, give anybody.
Play it safe and punch your clock, get your 40 hours a week, retire, or climb a skyscraper like we just
Exactly,
saw.
like, not to, you know, say, I guess, like, if you're putting 100% of your energy, you know, every single day in and day out, there's a very much increased risk for you to be, like, stressed out and, you know, die of, like, a heart attack or something like that. And but you, like, what I'm trying to get to, the point is, you have to balance yourself. You have to find yourself in the middle, because you never want to be on the far end of the spectrum on this side, or the far end on that spectrum on that side. And one of the best ways to do, you know, balance yourself out is, one, you have to ask yourself, hey, if I was limited towards doing this one thing for every single day for the rest of my life, would I be happy with doing that one, you know, doing that thing? And once you find that thing, then you expand the boundaries upon that. But then you also have to think about, hey, if this one thing was taken away from me for the rest of my life, would I find other things that I would enjoy to do? And it's so hard to do. It's just, it seems impossible sometimes. But you have to find, like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a little hard to explain, but.
So what you just said reminded me of something that just actually happened recently. So me and my friend Sean talked about this to nauseam. And of course, me and him were hanging out, and I got the idea from my coach, Coach Cruzy. I was at this alumni ball that they were having, and he was giving this speech, and he said something that just, it was probably the most beautiful wording I think I've ever heard in my life, if I'm being completely honest. He said, if my friend had a pass from heaven, there's not a doubt in my mind he would spend it at a track meet. And everybody else was just kind of nodding their head, but I was completely and utterly blown away. I was like, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's not the fact that, oh, he's at a track meet, like that's what you like about it. It was the fact of, and then I brought out to Sean, I was like, obviously nobody wants to leave heaven. Of course, like I believe in God, etc., and heaven. But I turned to Sean. I said, if you got a pass from heaven, what would you spend your day doing? And whatever you answer, that's what you should be working your whole life towards.
Yeah.
And then he thought about it. He did not give a direct answer. He did not. And he thought about it a day. And then he came back to me and he said, I would like to enjoy God's creations and reflect on a life that I'm proud of. And then I was like, that's a pretty solid answer. And then when you really deep dive into it, of course, something that I'm sure you enjoy doing, it's like he wants to do something that matters in other people's life while enjoying, not losing sight of everything that's around him or others, and just reflecting on everything that not only he's done, but everything around him.
Mm-hmm.
So he should spend his whole life creating every single opportunity and possibility that replicates that. And it just sparked that. It was like, okay, so that's my number one piece of advice. If anybody takes anything away from this podcast, if you got a day pass from heaven, what would you spend your day doing? And then you should work your whole life towards achieving that goal.
I think that's perfectly said. I've actually never thought about that before, but that's really amazing. And I wasn't expecting this podcast to ever, go down this route. Sometimes you start talking and, but usually it's a good sign because, you're talking about something that's meaningful and,
Yeah.
sometimes when I listen or watch other podcasts, it can get a little fake.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's very robotic or monotone. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, like sometimes you gotta get into the not so fun stuff and the stuff that nobody really likes talking about, because if you're listening to it, you might find it relatable and you might, take away this one little small thing that will change your entire life. It'll be like a domino effect. But to answer that question, I think for me personally, if I had a day pass from heaven, it has to be helping out other people. I don't know what it is, but I have this this internal joy from just seeing people reach their goals or their dreams, or kind of guiding them or helping them out or motivating people to go hey, I see it in you, you can do this, but they don't necessarily believe it themselves. But then I help them out and they're like, wait, this light bulb comes on in their head. I can actually do this. And it's it makes me so happy. And I don't know what it exactly is, but it's that has to be, my thing. And it's nothing really to do with any kind of, worldly desire. It's just this internal joy that I get from, helping out other people. So, but
yeah, and that's a great trait to have. That's amazing.
But yeah, so to wrap up this podcast, why don't we talk a little bit about Darkhorse Endurance? And
I'm repping the little logo. You can see it.
Yeah, I see it. That looks really cool, and we're gonna First, let's talk about maybe how you came up with the idea or why you
Yeah.
wanted to get into it in the first place.
Okay. So of course I was still at Bethel University. I was like really frustrated. I was at Bethel University. I was really frustrated. Didn't make all conference. Didn't qualify for nationals because at the NAIA level, if your team goes, if they win conference, you go to nationals, or you can be top 10 individual. I had a decent race. Didn't quite make it to nationals, and I was just beside myself. I was just down in the dumps, depressed. And my coach came up to me and he was like, "Hey, the local high school coach just quit. Do you want to coach these three kids?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't care." And of course, I kind of waved it off. It's like, and I started showing up, and I'm like, "They're not gonna take me serious. I'm too young. There's no way they're gonna take me serious."
Yeah.
And I started coaching them, and one of the kids reminded me of myself because no one really saw potential in him.
Hmm.
And I had somebody tell me that he's a good runner, or he's a great kid, but he'll never be a good runner.
Hmm.
And if he sees this, he's never seen this before. Maybe he'll hate me or get a kick out of it. But I saw that as a challenge. Me being a competitive person and in my nature, I was like, okay, we'll see about that. So he never made it to state, never qualified for state, and he ended up getting fourth place at the state meet off of 4 months of coaching.
Yeah.
And that was a testament one. And then word of mouth started going around, like, who are these people improving so much? And then they found out I was coaching them. And then I started getting more people. Jack Mantooth had another big performance. He got state runner up at cross country. Um, and then, people started figuring out who I was. And then whenever I transferred to NKU, I was just like, okay, I should probably get serious about this because I have athletes now that actually um, trust me, and the parents trust me and everything like that. Um, and then this is how I came up with the name. I was on a run one day, just really thinking about it. I was like, man, I gotta come up with an idea or something.
Hmm.
And previously mentioned, I was not a good high school athlete. I was not a stud. I was not a standout. I did not qualify for state at the track meet. But I guarantee I am by far the slowest person in Division One in my conference in Division One. Like compared to anybody else's high school times, especially with the roster limits, it's like there is no reason under the sun I should even be close to you. And I know that sounds egotistical, but if you look at it merely from statistics alone, there is no reason I should ever be close to you or beat you in the race for that matter. And it was kind of like I adopted this mindset of be the one that no one saw coming.
Yeah.
And nobody expected me to improve as much as I did. Nobody expected the athlete I coached that didn't make it to state to get fourth. Nobody expected the other one to get state runner up. All of these kids that I coached were from these small 1A schools that nobody saw coming. And being a Kentuckian, I was, horse racing. I was like, okay, we can be the dark horse of our own story and be the ones that nobody saw coming.
Hmm.
And so I just kind of adopted that.
That's I actually like that name so much. I don't know what it is about it, but like Darkhorse Endurance, it just sounds so cool. It's like I don't know what it is, but every time I watch sports growing up, even now, like I have this even if I like despise the team, I still like rooting for the underdog. Like it's
Yeah.
just like it's so everybody likes an underdog story. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something about like proving people wrong, about you know there's your haters and people said, you couldn't do this and you wouldn't ever able to do that. And actually I actually find our high school stories are a little similar, except the part is, um, I I wasn't that good in high school either. And you're gonna be like, well, hold on, how did how did you get a D1 offer right out of high school or whatever like that? Um, to be completely honest with you, okay, there was not a single Division I offer on my table until February of my senior year. Okay.
Okay.
My freshman year, I think I ran like 1940 in the 5K. Okay. And then and that was cross country season. And then in 2020, COVID hit. So COVID hit, and I didn't have a season indoor outdoor my freshman year. Didn't have a season cross country of my sophomore year. Didn't have a season indoor of my sophomore year. Outdoor season, I come back my sophomore year, completely out of shape, terrible. I was like, I remember running like a 59 400 and thinking it was like the greatest thing ever because I was just not that not that good at all. And then cross country of my junior year of fall, I ran like 17:20 in the 5K, and then my outdoor season of um of junior year, I ran 2:04 in the 800. Okay, and then on the span of about 6 months my senior year, I ran uh 157 in the 800, 236 in the 1K, 426 in the mile, and 931 in the 2 mile. And like it's just like all of a sudden I ran these they weren't like national qualifying. Well, I think the 1K was a national qualifying time. Anyways, there weren't times where I knew that I was gonna go to nationals and like make a statement there or anything like that. But the drastic change of running, going from this like mid high school runner, even less than mid high school runner, to like a really good high school runner to 3 times all state and like 2 times state runner up in a span of 2 nights. My phone was blowing up. I got a bunch of emails for coaches, and it was like, you hear all about the recruiting process in high school where it's like you got to reach out to coaches, and your coaches aren't going to reach out to you. I genuinely think that all these coaches started reaching out to me because they were like, they didn't understand how I got so fast in such a short period of time. They're like, how the hell did this kid run? He was just emailing me in the springtime for like a 4:48 mile, and now he's like beating my recruit at the state meet. Like what is going on here? And, but the reason I wanted to express that is that you never know your success is around the corner. It maybe just it can take that extra day, that extra that extra week, that extra month, and then all of a sudden you put in all this hard work and effort, and your results are pretty flat, and then it all adds up over time, and then boom, you hit this crazy uh, this crazy up on your success or whatever like that. And I just try to express to a lot of people, like, you have to stay patient, you have to stay consistent, you have to you have to keep your head up and keep grinding, and you never know that you know the next time you hit the track or you hit the cross country course, that it can be your day. So that's all I wanted to explain. It wasn't necessarily about me, but about how the similarities in my story coming up. I hope that anybody watching this podcast or listening to podcasts will take away, like, whatever you do, don't let go of that hope. That's all. Don't let go of hope. So.
I completely agree with that. Of course, this isn't me being egotistical or anything by any means, but something I like to use myself as an example. My freshman year 8K in college, I was a 31:50 8Ker, and I just went 24:48 in the 8K.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter how you start. It's just you just got to keep going. Like it's like you said it best. You reach plateaus, but you just keep putting in the work, and then you just skyrocket. And
It
that was definitely the case for me as well.
it it does not, and don't listen to anybody tells you you can't be this person. You're never gonna hit this time. Oh, oh, you want to be a Division 1, track athlete or whatever. You want to, be a D1 runner or whatever. You're like, dude, you're only running 230 and 800 right now. Like, there's kids that are 2 years younger than you running 159 800. Like, what, you think you're ever gonna get that? And it's like you just gotta, like, in your own mind you have to say, like, shut up, but you have to just ignore it. You can't
Yeah.
let that get in your head at all. Um,
And I feel like going back to self-worth and identity, especially in high school when you're going through all those tough periods and stuff, it's not always easy to go through that because, as a cross country or track athlete, sometimes you can be overshadowed. Like, who do you think you are? You're not like X, Y, and Z because, there's always some high school star that
yeah,
you may be in their shadow, and that can definitely mess with your self-worth, self-image. So the one thing I would like to also reiterate is just focus on yourself and your goals. It's like there is no telling what that person will do post high school, wherever they go in college. If they are that D1 star, and you feel like you're kind of in their shadows, it's like they may not pan out. They may drop out of school. They may go back home. They may transfer out. If they're basketball, they may not see a single minute in their whole years of playing. Because when you're in high school, everything seems like the biggest deal in the world. In reality, it's not. You just need to develop, learn, and grow as an individual. And I feel like a lot of times we take away from that by comparing ourselves to others. And I mean, comparison is the thief of joy. As long as you know what your goals are and you trust your coach and you trust what you're doing, I mean, there's no telling what could happen. You just got to trust the process.
100%. Um, I'm gonna say one more thing to wrap up this thing because I know we're getting a little long here. But
Yeah.
this has been fun so far though. It's good. It's good. Time flies when you're having fun. Um, so some of these people I'm still friends with today. Some of these people I'm not. Some of them it's kind of in between where it's like, they'll follow me on Instagram or whatever, and it's like, are we really friends? Probably not, but it's like they still know me to this day. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if I wanted to text them tomorrow, I could text them, but are we friends? Probably not.
Yeah.
But anyways, in high school, I always my dream growing up was that I wanted to be a Division 1 athlete, and or it was part of my dream. A little bit of my dream. I definitely had other things, in mind, but and probably most kids, at some point, growing up, wanted to be a Division 1 athlete. But I made it known to other people that, hey, I'm gonna work as hard as I possibly can to get to this point. Nothing is going to get in my way. Nothing at least in my control is gonna get in my way. I'm gonna put in the hours, put in the dedication. Uh, you know, make sure that there's no distractions involved. Some stuff that you can probably think off the bat in your head, that a high school kid would get wrapped up with, that could distract them from getting to where they want to be. I was not a part of any of those things, and I don't wear it like a badge of honor on me to say, like, hey, I'm better than other people. I never did those things or whatever. It's different, completely different on a standpoint. But anyways, there was kids that were outside of the sport or whatever, outside they weren't on the track team or whatever, cross country team, but they played other sports in high school, and they were like, oh, Carson, he's this little scrawny kid. He doesn't he doesn't have any athletic ability, like kind of would kind of talk behind my back about how they didn't believe that I could ever, go D1 in any kind of sport whatsoever. And they wouldn't really necessarily say it to my face, but I knew that they were talking about it, either through other people or just, eavesdropping myself, and they didn't even know that, that I was around or whatever. And then there was other people on my team that that were friends with me from the start, but as soon as I started to put myself out there and make it known that, hey, I wanted to go to states and I wanted to be, an all-state runner, I wanted to, be a state champion, I wanted to, go to school, go D1, all of a sudden those kids started to talk behind my back, and they started to, whisper other people and, say these things like, oh, he's dreaming too big, or he's trying too hard, and everything like that. And it, as a high school kid, it kind of ruined me a little bit. It kind of it made me feel as though like, am I being weird, or am I being delusional for not, wanting these things? And everybody was kind of, not on my side. And it was like, hey, I thought we're supposed to be teammates here. I thought you're supposed to be wanting to see me, help out the team, be the fourth or fifth man, getting us, that state title, or, or scoring a sport to this. And it's like, all of a sudden, everyone started to, go against me or whatever. Okay. And the summer before my senior year, I started putting in all this effort and time into training, and I start posting my training and, start putting it out there hey, I'm trying to be where I want to, where I want to go. And then, people start, commenting on my stuff and oh, you're running too fast. You're working out too hard. You're doing, you're going to burn yourself out. And not coming from a standpoint of wanting to help me out, but just from a standpoint of wanting to see me fail. They genuinely wanted to see me fail. And roll around my senior year, all of a sudden, things start to, pan out the way that I wanted them to. And, there's a good saying, the windows became less foggy. Everybody started to see out the windows and see oh, this guy's for real. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden it was everybody, started to become my friend and wanted, were and it was just and that moment, that life lesson made me realize even if they're being positive towards you and, you're all that in a bag of chips, and they're seeing, your great results, and it's it doesn't matter what they think. It really doesn't matter. If you truly know that you can get from A to B and you can, accomplish your dreams, then just throw all of that nonsense out the window. Just do, follow on your path and don't worry about what other people are going to say about you. Because the moment you put out something out there that's so big that everybody, doesn't believe that you can do it, is the moment where people are going to start to, they're going to not understand you, and they're going to come across as wanting to see you fail. But then the moment you do succeed is the moment where all of a sudden it's everybody, wants to be your friend, and everybody wants to, act as though they helped you get to your success. That's the one thing I hated the most. And I don't really want to get that I guess what's the word, dramatic about it, but that is the one thing that I surely dislike the most, is that everybody that didn't believe that I could accomplish what I wanted to do, the moment I did it, they all acted as though they helped me out to get there. They equated oh, I was the one that paced you through those workouts that got you to, like get to this
Yeah,
time. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, if you weren't there, I would have run the workout myself. Like, but
yeah.
okay,
It,
I know I
it's
just
like
went on a whole rant and a
it's
whole
like
spiel on
whenever
this.
you make it to state in football or whatever, and you got those people still talking about it 30 years down the road, and it's like they stayed in the same town and the quarterback went on to New York or something. It's like I blocked for you. It's like what?
It's just like, you know, people people with I hate using this, but it's true. People with a small mind are not going to understand what we're not going to understand what it takes to get where you want to go. Like, and you you have to understand that if you want to be this successful person and if you want to go accomplish the things you want to do that not many people can say that they were to do, you have to be ready to go down a lonely path. And but once you go down through the lonely path and you get to the other side, that's where everything pays off. And then you meet other people like us right now talking that
Yep.
that you had to go through the hardship to then make relationships and make friendships with people that shared those same experiences and went through the same hardships and fought through adversity and got to the other side. And it's the people that not to be that guy, but it's the people that are sitting back home in my hometown watching, hate watching this podcast are the ones
Yeah.
that chose to not go down the same path that I wanted to. So, but okay. So I know we have done this thing for a long time, no hour and 23 minutes, but I have two questions from people. Okay, so we're gonna make this really
Yeah.
quick.
No
Okay.
worries.
Okay. So first one is I saw in a reel saying I shouldn't do XC as a 400, 800 runner. Is this true? Um, Why don't you go first? I have my thoughts and opinions on this. Try and make it short, but you go first.
Um, let's see. XC is a 400, 800 runner. I think a lot of it has to do with the system you have and the person's goals. I know that's a really complex answer, so I'll try to keep it short. So if you're at like a 1A school and you have four like stud runners, then it's like, okay, help out, be the fit just so they can have a team score, maybe win their sectional or regional. So in circumstances like that, I get it. But on the flip side, it's like if you're a stud in the 400, 800, then it's like, yeah, maybe not do cross, but if you're more of an aerobic 800 runner, I would definitely say do cross country. And Cooper Lukenhouse is a great example because he did cross country and then he did like that insane performance to make it to Worlds. I don't even know the 800. It was like what 142 800 or something
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, 142.
And the first question he asked his high school coach was, "Does this mean I don't have to do cross anymore?" And it's like, yeah, of course. When your ceiling is that high, then it's like let's derive more of the focus on that type of training. But that's
Yes,
kind of my take on it.
I 100% agree. There's one more thing I'm going to add though, and I'm going to say that you can do research yourself. Do research yourself. Obviously talk to your coach. Figure out what kind of runner you are. If you're more of a speed-based 4-8 guy, or you're more aerobic 8-8 guy that can also touch down, with some 400 speed. But I've done scientific research on this before, and from my personal experience, doing cross country as a 4-8 guy is not going to hurt you at all. It may not help you, but it won't hurt you at all.
Yeah,
Meaning that it's not going to get rid of any speed. It's not going to make you slower. Okay, it depending on the type of runner you are, if you're more of a speed 4.8 guy, it may not help you, but it's never going to hurt you. So like you
Yeah.
just said, if your team needs you, if you know you run a good 800, then possibly you could run a good 5K. So if your team needs you to be that fifth guy, then go give it a shot. Help out your team. But it, if you want to take advice from me, I'm going to tell you right now, it won't hurt you at all. So yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that. And then the second question is, why do people doubt others' potential or tell them what they are capable of? I'll go first on this one.
Okay.
To be quite frank and to be extremely simple, it's two things. Either A, the most obvious one, they're jealous of you, or two, they don't understand what you're trying to accomplish. Meaning that, like, if you grow up in like a Southern Baptist kind of area, okay, and this is a very generalized thing. This is the best example I can give. It's a very generalized thing. Don't take offense to anything. I could be completely wrong. But from my perspective, if you grow up in like a Southern Baptist area, okay, so if you grow up in like Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, maybe even South Carolina, maybe a little bit of North Carolina, any areas like that, okay, and it's not a very popular area, you're from a small town, and you say, hey, I want to be a pro runner one day, okay, the typical response is, what the hell is a pro runner?
Yeah.
And they're going to say, hey, that's not a career. That's not something you do. And they're not, but they don't understand. They don't get it. They don't understand. And that's not their fault. That doesn't mean you should stop doing what you want to do. That just means, hey, they don't understand. Now, if you say, hey, I want to be the quarterback for Alabama, they're going to say, hey, man, if you got the talent, go for it. Because they understand that. Does that make sense? Is that the best way of explaining it?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
So if you want to add on that.
I would say for this question, I got to give credit to Mr. David Kyle, because he's the one that kind of reiterated on this and kind of helped me develop this thinking. People want to see you succeed, but they don't want you to succeed more than them, because then it feels like they've done something right with their lives. Like they feel as though their choices actually mattered, because as long as you don't succeed more than them, it's like, okay, I didn't mess up that badly because this person done worse than what I did. And we were talking about metrics earlier. Instead of like, finances or life, you become the metric. Like simple as that. Like you yourself are the metric compared to others. It's like, well, I have more money than Carson, or I have more money than Stetson. Oh, I'm caught up on more bills than Stetson or Carson. Oh, I have two car garage, and it's like you become the standard. You are the metric, and I think that's why there's a lot of limiters and potential, because I think a lot of times what derives from it is you see someone that is at the same caliber as yourself or at the same starting place, same spot on the totem pole, and it's like, okay, we're at the same starting line. I should be able, or maybe even they're ahead of you on the start line. I should be able to finish before them, but I can't let them get to the finish line before me. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's like there's this constant battle, and you don't even know you're in the race with them. You're just trying to live your life, but they've kind of everything that's valuable to them is everything that you don't get the opportunity to do. And so I would say if that's the case, I would just honestly put it as simple as you have become the metric. Just because you're the metric doesn't mean you got to be in the system.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Um, okay, very, very, very last thing to end this. I know, listen. Trust me. This is a great analogy I thought of, and I will take 30 seconds saying this analogy.
You're
It's like
good.
running. It's like running the 4x4. Okay, if you're the fourth man on the team, but the other team hands off the baton before you, okay, and you but your job is to win the race, but you don't win the race, the pressure's off you feel as though the pressure's off your shoulders. It goes, hey, I wasn't, the guy was ahead of me. Like, he got handed off the baton, before me, whatever. But if you're the third man, okay, if you're the third man handing off the baton, okay, and you don't, okay, what's the, oh my gosh, I had it in my head. Okay. Okay, anyways, okay. The analogy, it'll come back to me later. But the point is that it's like when you, like you just said, if you finish the race, okay, and okay.
When you get the baton and you're behind, you can either make the choice to blame it on the third runner, or you can take action
Yes,
yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you get the baton in your fourth leg, you can either, and you don't win the race, you can either choose to blame the third guy for not setting yourself up for success, or you can blame yourself and say, hey, I was not in a position, or I didn't do the best I could to win us that race. And the people that take the first option are the ones that are probably more likely to uh, to not believe that you can be successful or doubt on you. And the people that take the second ones are going to be the ones that are, probably more raw and genuine, and want to see you succeed as much as you do, or even better than you. So, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
If you made it this far, we unpacked everything, every inch of the entire spectrum of life. But just kidding. This was probably the best episodes that I've ever done, in the raw knowledge and insight. Very genuine, very, very inspirational. So, but thank you so much, Stetson, for coming on, and sharing, your story about, high school and college, sharing your insights about both, the physical and the mental aspects of running, and, just being yourself, and just just, not being fake, and, showing, just, showing what it is to be, a true person, to just be okay to share your flaws. I guess that's the best thing. So, but thank you one more time. I really appreciate your time, and I hope everything pans out the way that you want it to this season. And I'll definitely be looking on some stuff, and just I'll be cheering you on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for the opportunity and sharing your time as well. I greatly appreciate it. And then I don't know if you see this before Friday, I am racing the Louisville Lenny Lyles 3K on Friday. So that is my next race.
I got you. So, sub 8:30?
I mean, it'd be cool. I saw St. Pierre go 8:26. I was like, I guess that's the goal now, but
Ooh,
we'll
yeah,
we'll see how I pan out.
Can't be running slower than her.
Yeah.
Joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Well, the PR is 8:42. So me and my friend made a bet on Chipotle. So the bet said if I go sub 8:38. So if I go sub 8:38, I'll be eating a burrito at Chipotle somewhere.
I got you. Well, I always like Chipotle, so that sounds pretty cool.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
Also, one more last thing is that you kind of broke the record of the longest podcast by a long time, so which is actually a good thing. It means that this was it's really good one. So,
Oh, may I answer Parker's question?
um, make it like in one sentence.
Okay, I got you. Well, it'll be like 20 seconds.
Okay.
All right. So when I was going into the 10K during all of indoor track, I was sick. I had COVID, the flu, and an ear infection within 6 weeks. So not a good time. Went to outdoor. I was frustrated. The 10K, I actually got into the fast heat because it was just such a small field. And I was like, screw it. I literally have nothing to lose. And I just ran with the front pack from start, and I just hung on. I stayed relaxed, and then I came away with a really good time. But I was like, I want to be the dark horse of this race, and I was blessed enough to have a good performance.